durations.
Like the $6 million man. Although
Right.
these days that doesn't
That's
seem like
pretty
much.
cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
$6 billion man.
Yeah.
So the hole would be small. How big would the hole be that you have to drill and then replace with this piece? It's only one hole?
Well, the device we're working on right now is about an inch in diameter. And your skull's pretty thick, by the way. So skulls are...
Mine is.
millimeters. So
Mine's probably a couple of inches.
A half inch, half-inch thick skull-ish. So that's a fair bit of like we got quite a coconut going on there. It's not like some eggshell.
Oh yeah, I believe you.
You basically implant the device.
And so it would be like a 1 inch square, or 1 inch in diameter.
Yeah,
so an inch circle, like a circular.
Yeah, I think like a smartwatch or something like that, or
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take this 1 inch diameter, like ice fishing, right? You ever go ice fishing?
No, but I'd like to.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
So you basically take an auger and you drill through the surface of the ice.
Yeah.
And you create a small hole, and you can dunk your line in there. So this is like that. You're ice fishing on the top of your skull, and then you cork it.
Yeah, and you replace that, say, 1 inch diameter piece of skull with this Neuralink device, and that has a battery and a Bluetooth and an inductive charger, and then you also got to insert the electrodes. So the electrodes are very carefully inserted with our robot that we developed. That's very carefully putting in the electrodes and avoiding, any veins or arteries. So it doesn't create trauma.
So through this
1 inch diameter
device,
electrodes be inserted and they will find their way.
Like tiny wires, basically.
Tiny wires.
Tiny wires.
And they'll find their way to specific areas of the brain to stimulate?
No, you literally put them where they're supposed to go.
Oh.
okay.
Yeah, you should insert.
How long would these wires be?
They usually go in depending on where it is, like
2 or 3 millimeters.
So
You just find the spots.
yeah.
Wow.
And then then you put the device in, and that gets that replaces the little piece of skull that was taken out, and then you stitch up the hole, and you set up like a little scar, and that's it.
Will this be replaceable or reversible?
Yeah.
Like if someone can't take it anymore?
yeah.
I'm too smart. I can't take it.
Yeah, you can totally take it out.
And what is besides restoring limb function and eyesight and hearing, which are all amazing, is there any cognitive benefits that you anticipate from something like this?
You could for sure. Basically, it's a generalized sort of thing for fixing any kind of brain injury in principle, like if you've got like
Severe epilepsy or something like that.
it could just sort of stop the epilepsy from occurring. Like you could detect it in real time and then fire a counter pulse and stop the epilepsy. There's a whole range of brain injuries. Like if somebody gets a stroke, they could lose the ability to speak.
That could also
be fixed. So if you've got like stroke damage, or if you lose, say, muscle control over part of your face or something like that. I think, and then when you get old, you tend to, if you get Alzheimer's or something like that, then you lose memory, and this could help you with restoring your memory, that kind of thing.
Restoring memory, and what is happening that's allowing it to do that? Like the wires, these small wires, stimulating these areas of the brain, and then is it that the areas of the brain they're losing some sort of electrical force? Like what is happening? Yeah.
It's like think of like a bunch of circuits, and there's some like circuits that are broken.
We can fix those circuits. A substitute for those circuits.
And so a specific frequency will go through this?
Yeah, just
specific in that
is the process figuring out how much or how little has to be, how much these areas of the brain have to be juiced up?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of work to do. So when I say, we got a shot at probably putting in a person in, within a year, I think that's exactly what I mean. I think we have a chance of putting into someone and having them be healthy and restoring some functionality that they've lost.
The fear is that eventually you're going to have to cut the whole top of someone's head off and put a new top with a whole bunch of wires if you want to get, the real turbocharged version. The P100 of brain stimulation.
I mean, ultimately, if you want to go with full AI symbiosis, you'll probably want to do something like that.
Symbiosis is a scary word when it comes to AI.
It's optional.
I would hope so. Yeah.
It's just, once you enjoy the Dr. Manhattan lifestyle,
Once you become a god, seems very, very unlikely you're going to want to go back to being stupid again.
You literally can fundamentally change the way human beings interface with each other.
Yes.
Yes.
You wouldn't need to talk.
I'm so scared of that, but so excited about it at the same time. Is that weird?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the paths to, think like what AI is getting better and better. So now let's assume
It's sort of like a benign AI scenario.
Even in a benign scenario, we're kind of left behind. We're not along for the ride. We're just too dumb.
Right.
So how do you go along for the ride?
So you can't beat them, join them.
So, and we're already a cyborg to some degree, right? Because you've got your phone, you've got your laptop,
Glasses.
you got your electronic devices, and syndrome. It's like feels like something's really missing. So we're already partly partly a cyborg, or an AI symbiote, essentially. It's just that the data rate to the electronics is slow. So, especially you just go and with your thumbs. I don't know, like, what's your data rate? Maybe optimistically 100 bits per second. That's being generous. And now the computer can communicate at like 100 terabits. So gigabits are trivial. So this is like, basically your computer can do things a million times faster. Or you're at a certain point, it's like talking to a tree. Okay, this is boring. You talk to a tree. It's not very entertaining. So if you can solve the data rate issue, especially then you can improve the symbiosis that is already occurring.
So you can improve it in when you said you won't have to talk to each other anymore. We used to joke around about that. I've joked around about that a million times in this podcast, that one day in the future there's going to come a time where you can read each other's minds. And you'll be able to interface with each other in some sort of a non-verbal, non-physical way, where you will transfer data back and forth to each other without having to actually use your mouth. Make noises.
Yeah, exactly. So when you, like, what happens when let's say you've got some complex idea that you're trying to convey to somebody else, and how do you do that? Well, your brain spends a lot of effort compressing a complex concept into words, and there's a lot of loss, information loss that occurs when compressing a complex concept into words. When you say those words are then interpreted, then they're decompressed by the person who is listening, and they will at best get a very incomplete understanding of what you're trying to convey. It's very difficult to convey a complex concept with precision because you've got compression, decompression. You may not even have heard all the words correctly, and so communication is difficult. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Cool Aunt Luke.
Yes, and there's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
And there's an interpretation factor too. Like you can, and there's a great movie.
Yeah, to communicate. And so communication is difficult. What we have here is a failure to
Communicate.
Cool Aunt Luke.
Yes, and there's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
And there's an interpretation factor too. Like you can choose to interpret certain series of words in different ways, and they're dependent upon tone, dependent upon social cues, even facial expressions, sarcasm. There's a lot of variables.
Sarcasm is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've said is like that there could be potentially a universal language that's created through computers that particularly young kids would pick up very quickly. Like my kids do TikTok and all this jazz, and I don't know what they're doing. They just know how to do it, and they know how to do it really quickly. Like they learn really quickly, and they show me how to edit things. And it's if you taught a child from first grade on how to use some new universal language. I mean, essentially like a Rosetta Stone, and something that's done with that interprets your thoughts, and you can convey your thoughts with no room for interpretation, with clear, very clear, where you know what a person's saying, and you can tell them what you're saying, and there's no need for noise, no need for mouth, no need for these sort of accepted ways that we've sort of evolved to make sounds that we all agree. We through our cultural dictionary, and we agree, or certain. We can bypass all that.
Yeah, you can still do it for
fun,
sentimental reasons,
right? Like campfires.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need campfires. You don't need to roast marshmallows. It's kind of fun.
Right.
I think you would. You would be able to keep very quickly and with far more precision ideas. And language would. I'm not sure what would happen to language. But you could probably, in a situation like this, that you would be able to just, it would be kind of like the Matrix. You want to speak a different language, no problem.
Right.
That's why we just downloaded the program.
Right. So, at least for the first few iterations, we'll just be able to use. Like, I know that Google has their some of their Pixel buds have the ability to interpret languages in real time. Like,
sure.
Yeah, you can hear it, and it'll play things back to you in whatever language you choose. So to be something along those lines.
Yeah.
For the first few iterations.
Well, the first few iterations are. I mean, what I'm talking about is like in the limit of over time, with a lot of development. The first few iterations, really in the first few versions, all we're going to be trying to do is solve their brain injuries. So it's like don't worry that it's not going to sneak up on you. This will take a while.
How many years? Before you don't have to talk.
If the development continues to accelerate, then maybe like 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
That's quick. That's really quick.
That's the best case scenario.
No talking anymore in 5 years.
Best case scenario. 10 years more.
I've always speculated that aliens could potentially be us in the future, because if you look at like the size of their heads and the fact that they have very little muscle and they don't use their mouth anymore, they're just tiny little. I mean, the archetypal alien that you see like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they're like if you went from like Australopithecus or ancient hominid to us. What's the difference? Less hair, less muscle, less bigger head, less muscle, and then you just keep going. 1,000, a million,
whatever year, or 5 years, whatever happens when Neuralink goes online, and then we slowly start to adapt to this new way of being, where we don't use our muscles anymore. We have this gigantic head. We can talk without words.
You could also
save state. And
save state?
Save state, like save your brain state, like a saved game in a video game.
Whoa. like if you want to swap from Windows 95 to like you
probably a little better than that, but yeah.
I think we are Windows 95 right now.
From a future perspective, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could
save state.
And restore that state into a biological being if you
wanted to in the future. In principle, there's like nothing like from a physics standpoint that prevents this. You'd be a little different, but then you're also a little different when you wake up in the morning from yesterday, and you're a little different. In fact,
if you say like
you 5 years ago versus you today, is quite a big difference.
Yes.
So you'd be substantially you. I mean, you'd suddenly think you're you.
But the idea of
saving yourself and then transforming that into some sort of a biological state. Like you could hang out with 30-year-old you.
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
That's so weird.
I mean, just think like how your phone you can record videos on your phone. Mm-hmm. Like there's no way you could remember a video
right
as accurately as your phone or a camera could. So if you've got like some version 10 Neuralink, whatever, far in the future, you could recall everything, but just like it's a movie, including all the entire sensory experience.
Emotions, everything. And
play it back.
Do you think you'll be able to share
edit it? Yeah.
So you can change your past?
You could change what you think was your past.
Well, so if you had like a traumatic
this whole thing
experience,
right now could be a replayed memory. Yeah.
Well, so if you had
thing right now could be a replayed memory. Yeah.
Well, so if you had like a traumatic
this whole thing right now could be a replayed memory.
It could be. It could. It may be. It could. It may be. What's the odds of this being a replayed memory? You got to guess. It's more than 50%.
There's no way to assign a probability of accuracy.
Right, but roughly. If you just had a gut instinct.
Well, I don't have a Neuralink in my brain, so I'd say right now 0%. But at the point at which you do have a Neuralink, then it rises above 0%.
The idea that we're experiencing some sort of a preserved memory. even though it's still the same, it's not comfort. 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 Right? For some reason, when people talk about simulation theory, they talk about the potential for this currently being a simulation. Even though your life might be wonderful, you might be in love, you might love your career, you might have great friends, but it's not comforting to know that this experience somehow or another doesn't exist in a material form that you can knock on.
Feels real, doesn't it?
Somehow or another doesn't exist in a material form that you can knock on.
Feels real.
Feels real, but feels real. If it feels real, 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 if it feels real. But the idea that it's not is for some strange reason disconcerting.
Well, yeah, sure. Should be disconcerting. 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 Because then, if this is not real, what is?
Right.
But the there's that old thought experiment of like, how do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Right now, here's the thing: you are a brain in a vat. Then that vat is your skull.
Yes.
And everything you see, feel, hear, everything, all your senses are like everything. Is an electrical signal to that interesting.
And all your hormones, all your neurotransmitters, all these things are drugs.
Adrenaline's a drug. Dopamine's a drug. You're a drug factory. You're constantly changing your state with love and oxytocin and beauty.
Sure.
Changes your state. Great music changes your state.
Absolutely.
Akira.
And yet, here's another sort of interesting idea, which is, because you say, like, where did consciousness arise? Well, assuming you believe the belief in physics, which appears to be true, then, the universe started off as basically quarks and leptons, and it quickly became hydrogen and helium, lithium, like basically elements of the periodic table. But it was like mostly hydrogen, basically. And then over a long period of time, 13.8 billion years later, that hydrogen became sentient. So where along the way where is consciousness? What's the line of consciousness and not consciousness between hydrogen and here?
Right, when do we call it consciousness? I was watching a video today that we played on a podcast earlier of a monkey riding a motorcycle down the street, jumps off the motorcycle and tries to steal a baby.
Yeah, so that was
What is that monkey conscious? It seems like it is. It seems like it had a plan. Riding a fucking motorcycle and then jumped off the motorcycle to try to steal a baby. Seems pretty.
The one that just dragged the baby down the street pretty far.
Yeah. Seems pretty conscious. Right?
It's definitely some degree of consciousness there.
Yeah, it's not a worm. It seems to be on another level. Yeah, and it's going to keep going, and that's the real concern when people think about the potential future versions of human beings, especially when you consider a symbiotic relationship to artificial intelligence that will be unrecognizable. That one day we'll be so far removed from what this is. We'll look back on this the way we look back now, simple organisms that we evolved from. And then it won't be that far in the future that we do have this view back.
Well, I hope consciousness propagates into the future and gets more sophisticated and complex, and that it understands the questions to ask about the universe.
Do you think that's the case? As a human being, as yourself, you're clearly trying to make conscious decisions to be a better version of you, right? This is the idea of like getting rid of your possessions and realizing that you're trying to, like, I don't like this, I will try to improve this. I will try to do a better version of the way I interface with reality. That this is always the way things are. If you're moving in some sort of a direction where you're trying to improve things, you're always going to move into this new place where you look back in the old place and go, I was doing it wrong back then. So this is an accelerated version of that.
Yeah.
Super accelerated version.
I mean, you don't always improve, but you can aspire to improve. You can aspire to be less wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the tools of physics are very powerful. Like, just assume you're wrong and your goal is to be less wrong. I don't think you're gonna, if you succeed every day in being less wrong, but if you're gonna succeed in being less wrong, most of the time you're doing great.
That's a great way of putting it. Aspire to be less wrong. But then when...
Great. If you're going to succeed in being less wrong, most of the time you're doing great. If you're going to succeed in being less wrong, most of the time you're doing great.
That's a great way of putting it. Aspire to be less wrong. But then when, people look back in nostalgia about simpler times, there's that too. It's very romantic and exciting to look back on campfires.
But you can still have a campfire.
Yes.
Yeah.
But will you appreciate it when you're a super nerd, when you're connected to the grid, and you have some skull cap in place of the top of your head, and it's interfacing with the international language that the rest of the universe now enjoys communication with people?
Yeah, sure, I think so. Yeah, I like campfires.
I'm just worried. I mean, everyone's always scared of change, but I'm scared of this monumental change where we won't talk anymore. I mean, that thing
We'll
that you just
communicate.
Yes, but there's something about the beauty of the crudeness of language, where when it's done eloquently, it's satisfying and it hits us in some sort of a visceral way. Like, that person nailed it. I love that they nailed it. Like that, it's so hard to capture a real thought and convey it in a way, in this articulate way that makes someone excited. Like you read a great quote by a wise person, it makes you excited that their mind figured something out, put the words together in a right way that makes your brain pop. Like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clever compression of a concept.
Yeah.
And a feeling.
But the fact that a human did it too.
Yeah.
Do you think that it'll be like electronic music? Like people won't appreciate it like they appreciate a slide guitar?
I like electronic music.
I do too. Slide guitar.
I like electronic.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, you make it. I know you like it.
Yeah. I mean, I hope the future is more fun and interesting, and we should try to make it that way.
I hope it's more fun and interesting too.
Yeah.
I just hope we don't lose anything. Along the way.